Alright, show of hands. Who here has played Guild Wars 1? Guild Wars 1 is an interesting game. It's an MMO that released just a bit after World of Warcraft set the standard for the genre. That means it was in development for a while before World of Warcraft released. Because of that, it's not actually one of the many MMOs that tried to emulate what WoW did. It wasn't a WoW clone. So that puts Guild Wars 1 in a very interesting place. Not only is it a completely separate entity, but there are so many people that basically proclaim their love for the game, like I do for Mega Man Legends. Even though WoW changed the whole MMO landscape going forward, Guild Wars 1 obviously did something correct to get so much admiration. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I heard that one of the main minds behind Guild Wars had also worked on WoW at one point. Oh boy, is this a story of them leaving Blizzard and saying they'll make their own World of Warcraft? With blackjack and hookers? Things are getting a little spicy in here. I've already played through a vast majority of the main story content in Guild Wars 2, but I've never actually touched the first game. I've had quite a few comments telling me some context here and there for some of the story bits in that game, but I've never actually experienced that context myself, so I figured I'd try out the first game now to fix that. I mean, both games are made by the same developer. How different could they possibly be? Oh, they're very different. Well now, how about we hop in and see why Guild Wars 1 is so beloved? Hi there. My name is MegaMadVlad, and this is my first look into the fabled Guild Wars 1 in order of release. After being recommended many times to take a look at this one, I got curious to see what all the hubbub was about. What makes Guild Wars 1 tick? Why does it have such a strong stranglehold on people? Well, it's time to find out. And as a forewarning, there will be some spoilers and terrible jokes as I go over my journey and experience through Guild Wars 1. So with that out of the way, buckle up. Today, we hop into Guild Wars 1. And while I did say hop, there is a severe lack of jumping in this game, which is kind of funny considering how many jumping puzzles there are in Guild Wars 2. Anyway, so the first thing we see after starting the game is an option to create a role-playing character or a PvP-only character. Since I'm checking out the main game, I'm going with role-playing here. Then I'm asked which batch of content I want to start with. Thankfully, they're in order from left to right. Prophecies was basically the game as it launched, while Factions and Nightfall are both expansions that released afterwards. And then we're introduced to the character creator. The first part is choosing which class, or profession in Guild Wars' case, that we want to play. There are 6 choices available here. From the mighty warrior, to the cunning ranger, the bald monk, necromancer? I guess you can't lose a war if you raise the fallen, right? The trippy mesmer, and finally, the elementalist. After choosing my starting profession, this game absolutely surprised me with its wealth of races to choose from. There are so many. You could choose to be a human, or, if you're feeling a little cheeky, a human. Yeah, so human is the only choice here. And yeah, the character creation choices are very limited by today's standards. But to be fair, this is a pretty old game now, and it's not really updated anymore. Oh, look at that, an update. So then I get to an update in 2025? Oh geez, gotta hurry with this video. Finally, I choose my character's name, Vlad Athar, the very distant ancestor to my character Vladathar in Guild Wars 2. Now we can finally hop into the game proper, just in time to have to download the map apparently. You know, something I figured would have been done when I downloaded the game. Long before your furry Ritlocks, we had King Adalburn of Ascalon, wielding the very same sword Sahathan. I mean the sister sword Magdare. I don't know why they look exactly the same as each other. We then find the human kingdom of Ascalon in a perpetual war with the Char of Ascalon. So, one of the biggest differences between Guild Wars 1 and 2 is actually how both games fit the MMO genre. Where Guild Wars 2 has the overall major aspects of being an MMO, many players running around in a massive world, Guild Wars 1 doesn't do that in the same way. In fact, it's actually all instance-based. Outside of seeing players running around in various cities, unless you party up with some of them, once you leave the city, you're all alone out there. And from what I've played thus far, you start out with a party size of 4, including yourself. But once I got to the Shiver Peak, it gave me 2 more party slots, totaling out to 6. But that's where an interesting bit comes in. Yes, you can party up with other players, sure, but you can also recruit NPC allies called henchmen. Henchmen? Are we the bad guys? They'll follow you around, help you out with fighting, and when you pick up money, they take a portion of it for themselves. Sort of like you're hiring them. I mean, they are called henchmen after all. So because you essentially hire NPCs to help you out in the game, you can play all of Guild Wars 1 without having another player join you at any point. So it's very solo player friendly. Another interesting part of Guild Wars 1 is, unlike its sequel, the max level you can reach is level 20. That means that each level really matters a lot, not just in terms of stat growth, but also what you put your points into. Experience is gained through exploration, combat, and questing for the most part. When you start the game, you begin in the city of Ascalon. You find a person with a green exclamation point above his head, and he gives you a quest to find Sir Titus. Somehow I'm not sure he's good at blitzball. Grab up the quest and find Sir Titus standing right next to a gate with a green arrow above his head. And this basically has you handing in your first quest of the game, giving us 100 experience and 10 gold. All typical questing functions accounted for here. Nothing too surprising. After handing in that quest, he immediately has another quest for us, something to help us learn our class a bit. Finding Van, a warrior outside the city, he tells us that warriors are impossible to kill. And I'm sure I could take that statement to heart. Now, we're tasked with taking out a horde of Scale, who live in a van down by the river. And now, we're finally introduced to combat, specifically combat without skills. Simply click on the enemy and start whacking away at their health until you win. With that done, I head back to Van the warrior, and I receive 2 skills. One heals me, and the other makes my auto attack 33% faster for 8 seconds. But I take double the damage. Hey, wait a minute. I thought Van told me warriors were impossible to kill. If I lose my HP twice as fast with this, doesn't that make me easier to kill? I'm already receiving mixed signals here. Even using the healing signet skill is detrimental during combat. Minus 40 armor while using the skill? In what way do these make me, and I quote, impossible to kill? Being born as a warrior is basically a death sentence at the rate this is going. But as far as basic combat goes, that's it. You have your auto attacks, you take damage while the enemies take damage, you have skills, HP and mana bars. It's all pretty standard stuff, still fitting a similar enough concept to a traditional MMO. But just go questing, follow the main story, do side quests, you name it. But something that actually throws a different kind of wrench into that formula is you, the player, being able to choose a secondary profession. Now, this isn't a secondary class like you switch back and forth. This is more along the lines of a multi-class system. And unlike how you don't get to test your starting profession before beginning the game, you're allowed to test all 5 of the other professions and see how they mesh with your starting profession in combat and utility. In my case, since I chose to start as a warrior, I can choose to also have the skills of a ranger, a monk, necromancer, mesmer, or elementalist. All you have to do is have the quest that tells you to go try them out, find the trainers the classes are tied to, and do the quests with those new skills. These quests are tailor-made to have you use your new skills, so you get a good workout immediately. Once you finish that quest, you go over and hand it in, and you're given the option of either accepting the new profession or saying you'll think about it. Even if you don't say yes right away, you keep the skills with you until you test another profession. It's very forgiving and lets you play around a bit longer if you want a better test run. Now, I like being a spell sword in my fantasy games, so I ended up choosing Elementalist to complement my melee warrior build. Surrounded by enemies in melee range, how about I rain fire from the heavens? Oh yeah, life is good. Now, I hear you out there. What if I don't want a second profession on my character? Well, you can't continue forward without choosing one. But that doesn't mean you're forced to use those new skills after their initial testing quest. You can simply replace them with your starting profession skills and never look back if you so desire. While I'm not 100% certain on this, mostly since I'm still new to this game, I think the main difference between your starting and secondary professions is the armor you can wear. Since I started out as a warrior, I can't wear armor designed for the other classes. It has to be heavy armor for the most part, and that still fits my spell sword fantasy, so it works for me. And yeah, this game is pretty tough. It is very easy to get overrun by enemies. I think I counted 9 deaths in Ascalon alone here. Yeah, when it comes to the moment-to-moment questing, most quests will give you a small blurb to read from the quest giver, and you go and do the quest, and then you hand it in. This is most of the experience. The objectives are determined by the quest, so you might have to go somewhere and grab some items, or fight some enemies, or even save some people. There's a surprising amount of quest variety that we get. But that's not the only type of questing either. There are plenty of times when you'll find a big show-stopping set piece. These quests are sort of like an opt-in kind of event. The game recommends you have a party for these times, and the objectives are much more intricate. One of the things I wanted to do was finish all of the quests in Ascalon before moving on. Pretty sure I did all of them, so let's move on finally. I even got the updated armor set for my warrior. Spectacular! I head back up to Armin Saberland to continue the main quest. As a level 7 warrior and elementalist combo pack, I'm sure I've got this in the bag. Oh, there's a timer until the mission starts. We're working with Titus and Prince Rorik. We're to hunt down a single char named Vatlaw Doomtooth. Badass name. Oh, well, show them what for. We enter a cave, slay some Grawl, and then we find them. Doomtooth is... oh, he's big! Now that Doomtooth is out of the way, there's only one tiny problem. The char ordered Taco Bell and are now making it everyone's problem. Two years later, and Ascalon looks none the worse for wear. Nope, exactly as I remember it. Dilapidated buildings, bridges with rubble, and a resistance against the char. Yep. Oh, who am I kidding? This place looks like a wreck. So yeah, we've gone from an army down to a resistance. And Ascalon City has seen some better days. Well, with King Adalburn and Prince Rorik, we're sure to fight back the char. Never mind, they're arguing with each other. We're all doomed. So with Ascalon in ruins, even 2 years later, there's quite a lot open to us now. With the map size we had pre-Searing, it absolutely pales in comparison to what we have now. Not only is Ascalon as a whole much bigger than before, but we have even more regions to access for this story. There are plenty of interesting side quests that I've come across, like one in the Breach where I had to help some Ascalonian soldiers fight off some char patrols. It's one of those quests that really shows that there is plenty of variety in quest objectives. While the presentation of quests like this don't really hold up to the main set pieces the game has to offer, they still give us plenty of things to do. However, these main set pieces tend to be where you have to click on the Enter Mission button, not to be mistaken for intermission. Once clicked, a short countdown will start, and then you and your party will be teleported into the new instance. In the case here, our team is tasked with scouting north of the wall for the Char army lying in wait. We have some pathways that we can travel to our destination, sometimes having a few that we can take. Also, in these missions, we can find some side objectives that, once completed, will give us a good bit of experience with a quick animation. Really good for some faster leveling. Once we arrive at our destination, we spot a Char invasion force. Only problem is they spotted us! Run! Okay, that is a lot of red dots on my minimap. Don't worry guys, I will remember you for your sacrifice. Oh, their health dropped fast! But make it back to the wall we did. Just in time to warn Captain Calhan about the impending Char army. After seeing their sheer numbers, Calhan does the only sensible thing and orders a retreat. We survived the day. Now, we can look at that mission there, and it shows us what the biggest parts of the story are like. If you do a side quest, it's treated in a more traditional MMO way. That is by having you walk up, accept a quest, do the quest objective, hand in the quest, and get rewarded. While the objectives can be vastly different from each other, the overall presentation will be the same. A mission is a linear-driven quest that has its own cinematics. The stakes are higher, and sometimes it's less about taking on the enemy, and more about running to survive. While a side quest has a typical beginning and end point, a mission can change up as the story unfolds. And finally, there's the main quests. These are somewhere in between a side quest and a mission. They have aspects of side quests in them, where you have a traditional quest presentation, but they do lead into missions. Not to mention, the main quest is a really big chain of quests that lasts the whole game. Off topic here, but the post-Searing Ascalon is very dull and drab looking, a wasteland if you will. It does have enough variety and landmarks to help you find your way. Also, the map is a very big help. Being able to teleport to any settlement you found is also a great help here, so traversing the world is fairly simple enough. Though sometimes the basic traversal can be difficult to find the correct pathway to get to your objective. As an example, you can run up hills, but there are still clearly hills that you can't. So after we finish that previous mission, we're thrust into the new one right away. This time, it's an effort to take back the wall we just lost to the Char. As we make our way through the Char-infested pathways, we eventually come across Siege Master Lormar. He had been attempting to fix a trebuchet that we can use on the Char, just outside the wall. So we find the pieces it's missing, load up the trebuchet, and fire. Oh, I'm sure they're feeling it now, Mr. Krabs. Eventually, we happen upon the Char commanding this group, take them out, and Prince Rurik catches up to us. Next up is to move north and retake whatever the Char took from us. The overarching narrative thus far is all a war against the Char, the very same Char that wanted Ascalon and ended up ruining it for everyone instead. Not very smart, were they? As we head north with Prince Rurik, we find out that he aggroes just about anything that moves. Because of this, we find ourselves in need of keeping a very close eye on him at all times. He's like a kid in a candy store. Eventually, we find some people in a cage. Prisoners, I think they called themselves. One of them told Prince Rurik that there are more soldiers further up the path in a place called Draskir. Once we save these mage soldiers, Rurik then wants them to help open a portal out of here. All three of them take their positions as I try to protect them at all costs. Big doors open, a portal shows up, and then we all run in, leaving the mages behind. You know, the people we literally showed up to save here. It was an honor letting you all down. Oh look, a horn. By the way, have you guys ever attacked something under a bridge? Because I sure have. Apparently, combat is completely based on a horizontal plane. Like if you look at your minimap and see red dots versus green dots. Hell, I can even pick up items from 100 feet up. Continuing on, Vladithar eventually leaves Prince Rurik to take a very wide detour around the Char and take them out from behind. So naturally, we end up fighting ghosts in a graveyard. Because why not? Anyway, we finally succeed in that plan, save Rurik, and start making our way to the city of Rin. Considering how everything else has looked in Ascalon, I can't see Rin looking any better. We eventually find Rin, and apparently Rurik is still living in the past because he says the city is burning. Sir, I think all of Ascalon is burning right now. There is nothing new, and he decided to blow into that horn that we found. Truly, he's lost it. Oh good, you put out their campfires. I'm sure the Char are running scared now. Take out a few Char, save some people, and now King Adalburn himself arrives.
I will never allow Ascalons to live in the shadow of the Crichtons. It is Rin that will be rebuilt. And you will learn your place.
You have grown proud, Adalburn of Ascalon. Proud and foolish.
You would dare call your king a fool? I will hear no more. I banish you from Ascalon. You are no longer my prince, and you are no longer my son.
Well, that escalated quickly. And now we've gone from warring with the Char to shepherding refugees through the Shiver Peaks to Kryta. So much happened so quickly. Now that we're in the blistering cold that is the Shiver Peak Mountains, the first thing I did was buy new armor to show the cold I don't mess around. Oh yeah, look at these moves. All right, let's just focus on the new mission at hand. Getting people through the Shiver Peaks alive.
Hey, you're finally awake.
All right, so the first thing we need to do is light some beacons so some door will open up for all of us. While we're doing that, we're sure not stopping any future conflicts between the centaurs and the humans in any way. Could you imagine both the centaurs and humans fighting each other in about, I don't know, 250 years from now? That would be insane. This nice guard told us that the dwarves here are in the middle of a civil war. Sounds like a fantastic time to drag a ton of refugees with us. I just want you all to know, I found my first gold rarity weapon in the game, but it's an axe. And I put my points into swordsmanship. Yep. Open sesame! I love the smell of gunpowder in the morning. Wow, that is a big wall of animated ice sculptures. It's a little chilly up here, so I'm gonna turn up the heat a bit. And with all of that combat out of the way, we eventually make our way into a camp, and we find Prince Rurik with some dwarves. Wait a minute, these dwarves aren't stoned yet. After lighting the beacons with an enchanted torch, the final gates open and we're through Boreless Pass. Alright everyone, this is for all the marbles. In a two-pronged plan approach, Vlad Athar and Prince Rurik take 2 separate teams through the pass. My part is to stop the dwarves from raining fire upon Rurik and the refugees. Eventually, we meet back up with Rurik, and he tells us the new plan for opening the Frost Gate. The Frost Gate leading to Kryta. We have to do some stuff, and he has to not die. Sounds easy enough. The Frost Gate is open! Let's go, Rurik.
Rurik! No! You cannot save me. Get them to Kryta. Hurry, go!
Your punishment for trespassing is death.
Well, we can certainly check opening the Frost Gate off the list, but Rurik surviving didn't end up happening. I can definitely say I didn't see that coming. Now they basically have it as the main character is now leading the refugees to Kryta. No pressure. Hey, remember when I said the main goal was to get the refugees through the Shiver Peaks alive? They're literally walking into enemy patrols right now! Honestly, you can't fix stupid. But we finally make it through the Shiver Peaks and into Kryta, and it's here that we will end our tale for now. For as far as I've played Guild Wars 1, it definitely offers a vastly different gameplay experience to what Guild Wars 2 ended up as. I like it a lot so far. It's definitely more of a co-op RPG than it is an MMO, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing either. While Guild Wars 2 can definitely check off the MMO box, Guild Wars 1 has its own strong personality to call its own. You can really make your own class, as evidenced by how I wanted to make a spell sword of sorts through both Warrior and Elementalist. And with 6 different professions in the Prophecies base game alone, that's quite a lot of different profession combinations right there. I've heard that factions in Nightfall have more professions that they add as well, and since you can take your character from any of those starting points into other starts, that means you can go through Prophecies with even more profession combinations. That's a surprising amount of character creation freedom. Buying items from vendors for gold, or even from enemy drops, there's still a lot of random loot to be had as well. If you add in the ability to respec your character stats and skills, the build potential is actually really great. But then, looking at the story so far, it's definitely got some interesting hooks to it. The cutscenes have that early 2000s jank to them, but that just adds to the personality of this game. There are still so many side quests at your disposal. It'll give you plenty to do in all of these locations. I've enjoyed my time so far, and I'm looking forward to hopping back in again soon to continue this journey. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you liked the video, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Adios.